So what if the data you trust every single day is lying to you? Not because the numbers are wrong, but because they're hiding the most important part of the story. Today, we're going to dig into a hidden flaw in how we see data, a descriptive trap that can lock us into the cycle of asking all the wrong questions.
Our story starts with a puzzle, one that totally stumped a team of seasoned hospitality experts. They were looking at two hotels that, by all accounts, should have been performing almost identically. But one was just crushing it, while the other was kind of struggling. The data just didn't add up. And that little mystery is right at the heart of what we're talking about today.
On paper, these two places were twins. Same location, same quality, same target audience. They were playing the exact same game, on the exact same field. And yet, the scoreboard was telling a completely different story. The big flashing question was just, why?
So yeah, this real-world mystery is the perfect way for us to start investigating the limits of the data we all put so much faith in.
When you're faced with a problem like this, what do? Well, you do what you're trained to do, right? You open up the dashboards, you pull the reports, and you start digging into the numbers. And as they opened up those dashboards, they went straight for the familiar stuff, the industry standard metrics, the usual suspects. They analyzed everything. I'm talking RevPAR, that's revenue per available room, ADR, the average daily rate they're charging, occupancy, how many beds are full, and even GOPPAR, this really complex measure of profit. This stuff is the shared language of the entire hotel industry. If there was an answer to be found, you'd think it had to be hiding somewhere in these numbers. And the data was excellent at one thing. It painted this perfect, high-definition picture of the performance gap. It showed them with absolute precision what was happening month after month. The better hotel just had better numbers. Simple as that. But here's the problem. For all their precision, the numbers were completely silent on the most important question of all. They could describe the outcome beautifully, but they offered zero clues as to the cause. The why of it all? That remained a total mystery. And this failure to find the why isn't just some weird quirk of the hotel business. Not at all. It actually reveals this fundamental problem in our thinking, a concept we're calling the descriptive trap. See, the issue wasn't that the data was wrong. It's that the data itself was, by its very nature, limited. It was purely descriptive. It's kind of like having a perfect photograph of a car crash. It shows you the aftermath in crisp detail, but it doesn't tell you if the driver was texting or if the brakes failed.
And this slide just nails the core issue. The experts had descriptive data, a perfect rearview mirror of what happened. But what they desperately needed was experimental insight, the ability to understand why it happened and to test what could have happened instead.
And this limitation, it affects everyone, even the biggest players in the game. They're stuck. They simply can't run the experiment. They can't just rewind the clock and ask, hey, what if we had priced that room 10% lower last weekend? That possibility, and all the learning that would come with it, is just lost to time. Which brings up a really fascinating question. If this trap is so fundamental, why does it even exist? And why is it so incredibly difficult for smart, experienced professionals to see their way out of it?
Well, this isn't a story about incompetent people making mistakes. As the famous saying goes, you can't fix a problem using the same mindset that got you into it. It's a structural problem, one that's baked right into the system itself. So what happens is professionals get stuck in what the source material calls a closed vocabulary. They use the standard metrics, which leads them to conclusions that only make sense within that framework. And because everyone else is speaking the same language, it just reinforces the idea that this is the only way to think. It becomes a self-perpetuating loop, making it almost impossible to see outside the box.
And what's really interesting is that when two things perform differently, the answer is rarely found inside that neat and tidy dashboard. The real reasons, things like local events or weird online platform dynamics or some unique demand driver, they live completely outside the factors those standard metrics were ever built to measure. So if the answers aren't in the dashboard, where are they? Well, this leads us to a whole new perspective, a way to think beyond the standard tools we're given. And right here, this is the ultimate danger of the descriptive trap. We go through the motions of measurement. We generate the reports, we analyze the charts, we have the meetings, but it all just becomes a ritual, performed without achieving any genuine causal understanding. We're definitely doing the work, but are we actually learning anything new?
And this explains a feeling I bet a lot of us have had. You invest in these sophisticated tools, you hire really smart people, but the results can still feel, well,
off. It's because we are often using these scientifically precise instruments on a conceptual model of our business that's only partially connected to what's happening in reality.
Look, this isn't just about hotels. This trap exists everywhere. In marketing, in finance, in product development, literally any field that relies on data. So it leaves all of us with a really critical question. What are the standard metrics you rely on every single day? And is it possible they could be perfectly describing your reality without ever truly explaining it?